Those of you who know me know that I like history. You're about to find out how much. The first stop I made on my sabbatical was Sicily. After 5 days in Sicily, my daughter Amity and I flew out of Palermo for Rome. Our Alitalia flight flew right over the Eternal City on its approach to Da Vinci Airport. From the air, the first thing I recognized was the Colosseum. And it was the Colosseum that was our first stop when we went sightseeing in Rome. The Colosseum is the universally recognizable symbol of the glory that was and still is Rome. Funny thing about the Colosseum, that is not its original name. Its original name is the Flavian Amphitheater. It was built by the Flavian family, a father-son team. Not that they built it themselves, but they caused it to be built. This was a combination of noblesse oblige, the benevolent behavior, building of monuments and bridges and public baths that was expected of persons of high rank, and plain old crass vanity, the desire to be seen as great, and especially to be remembered that way. The Roman Emperor Vespasian commissioned the construction of the largest amphitheater in the world. Vespasian, Titus Flavius Vespasianus. The site he chose for the construction is within the compound of the Domus Aurea, the golden house that was built by the Emperor Nero. After the Great Fire of Rome, Nero took the opportunity, some said he set Rome on fire for this opportunity, to build a country villa in the heart of Rome. He built a huge house covered in gold leaf, hence the name Domus Aurea, the golden house, surrounded by a forest on a man-made lake. At the end of the lake, he built an enormous statue of himself. The golden house, the lake, the statue were all constructs to emphasize Nero's power and his wealth. Nero committed suicide rather than be assassinated by a citizenry worn out by his cruelty and his extravagance. A few years later, Emperor Vespasian drained the lake that Nero built and began construction on a monument to his family, the Flavian Amphitheater. Now, Vespasian dies before it is complete. So it is left to his son and heir, the Emperor Titus, to complete the Flavian Amphitheater. The amphitheater, even today, even as a ruin, is an incredible piece of architecture. It should have been a monument to forever impress us with the glory of the Flavian family, of the Vespasians, of Titus. But that's not what happened. Vespasian drained Nero's lake for construction, but left the impressive 120-foot-high statue of Nero, but they no longer called it a statue of Nero. It was now renamed for the god Helios. The Roman citizens really did not care whether the statue was of the Emperor Nero or of a Roman god Helios. What they saw was a colossal statue outside the amphitheater. And they began to refer to the Flavian Amphitheater by that statue, that colossal statue, the one that was outside the Colosseum. The glory of Nero The colossal statue was first renamed and then torn down. Just the pedestal is there. The glory of the Flavian family, the Flavian amphitheater, is still glorious, but the Flavians are all but forgotten. History has a way of playing havoc on monuments to personal glory, but that does not mean that we can do nothing of lasting importance. You and I are followers of Jesus, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Today, the last Sunday of Pentecost, is commonly known as the Feast of Christ the King. The only time Jesus had his name attached to a structure is the time when the Roman procurator Pontius Pilate authorized the inscription. We read in the Gospel according to Luke in the 23rd chapter, and when they came to the place which is called the Skull, there they crucified him, and the criminals, one on the right and one on the left. There was also an inscription over him, Jesus, the King of the Jews. The structure for Jesus was a wooden cross that was raised for 3 hours, and then, after it had done its work, was taken down. The glory of the cross is that it became the throne of the Son of God, and from that throne, our King opened the gates of heaven to all that believe in him. While the glory of the Colosseum fades, when the statue of Nero has disappeared and all is but forgotten, when Nero and Vespasian and Titus, these emperors of the known world, are in our time generally unknown, Jesus Christ is active in changing lives, in freeing souls, and drawing all people to himself. The idea that someday I will be forgotten is not a pleasant one for me. The idea that my loved ones will be forgotten is painful. At my former church in Louisiana, my sisters Barbara, Jody, and I gave a memorial to the church for our dad that would remind us of him. We decided that we would pay for a wooden deck on the side of the church. My dad was a porch sitter. After dinner, he would go out on the porch of our house, sit in a chair, light up a cigar, and just relax and watch the world go by. For my sisters and me, a deck was a reminder of our dad in a fitting memorial. And we placed a small brass plate on the side of one of the seats. The plate contains my dad's name, of course. It says that the deck was given by his children, Barbara, Roy, and Jody, in his memory. But in front of all that, and most important of all, the plate reads, "Given to the greater glory of God." I want people to know that after Barbara, Jody, and I are dead and gone, after the plate has weathered so that the writing is no longer visible, after the wood of the deck has decayed and returned to the earth, it is the glory of God that sustains my Father in eternity. All of this that you see around you is passing away. Yet I am sure you have a great deal of affection for this house of worship. You have baptized people from here. You have married people from here. You have blessed them as they come here, and you have blessed them as they leave here. You have said your final farewells and buried your loved ones from here. still, all of this will be gone. It is only the cross of Christ, that 3-hour monument to God's love. It is only the glory of God that makes any of this worthwhile. As life goes on, there may come a time when you will want to honor a loved one with a memorial at St. Joseph's on the Mountain Episcopal Church. You may consider a fitting remembrance, a book, a vestment, a candlestick. And it would not be unreasonable for you to ask that the name of your loved one be inscribed in a book or on a wall or on a plate or on a plaque. We all want to be remembered. Remembered by those we loved and by those who loved us. We all want our loved ones remembered. But know this: the surest monument you can have in your life is the love you gave to another. The surest memory that will last is in the eternal Sacred Heart of Christ, who loved you all the days of your life. And the greatest triumph for your soul is to live for the greater glory of God, the King of Kings. Amen.